I'm Dr. Shagufta Jabeen, your host for today's conference. By profession, I'm a learning and development consultant, but my passion actually keeps me into rural area development projects in Pakistan. So, on behalf of Global United for Peace and Justice and Global United Women Council, I warmly welcome you to the Great Global Peace and Justice Conference of 2025 in August. So our today's theme is racism, and racism, the theme of our today's conference, exists around us in different forms, mainly in jokes, stereotypes, taboos, but most dangerously in policies and institutional cultures in form of established cultural and social practices. So racism, be it global racial discrimination, hate crimes, anti-black racism, Islamophobia, anti-Asian prejudice, are targeted violence against indigenous people and minorities. Across the world, millions face systemic inequality, cultural erasure, and violence simply because of who they are. And ending these injustices is not just a moral imperative, it is the foundation for peace, justice, and a truly inclusive global society. So, dear all, today here we unite under a shared vision, and that is advancing peace, ensuring justice, and ending all forms of discrimination. Goals that also echo the spirit of United Nations SDGs, especially when we talk about SDG 16, which is all about peace, justice, and strong institutions, and SDG 10, which is all about reduced inequalities. And there are lots of other global models and frameworks which talk about inclusion and global justice. So this conference is more than a conversation. It is a commitment to action. Fighting against racism is a test of global conscientiousness and repels this moral crisis. So we are here to amplify the voices, to bridge the divide, and strengthen the fabric of our shared humanity. So the respected chairperson of Global United for Peace and Justice and Global United Women Council, Dr. Sayed, is with us. I would request her to open the conference with her remarks. Dr. Sayed, over to you, please.
Okay, dear. Assalamu alaikum. Have a nice and wonderful day. Dear guest speakers, honor speakers, colleagues, and fellow advocates for humanity, welcome to the 2025 Global Peace and Justice Summit. As the president of the Global United for Peace and Justice, I began this gathering not with ceremony but with the purpose. We are not here not for comfort, we are here for truth. This year's theme, Racism Under Peace and Justice, focus us to confirm what many still deny. That racism is not a historical problem. It is a living, breathing violence. It is structural. It is systematic. It is global. It remains one of the most powerful threats to peace and justice of our time. It's people, opportunity, fortune, and hope. It doesn't just lie in insult or if lie in law. Policies, prisons, border, controls, poverty, and silence. From brutality on the street to refugees, discrimination at borders and the black, anti-Asian, anti-Semitic, and the Islamic phobia herded. Racism is a global disease rooted in the very structure of power that claim to protect us. We cannot talk about peace without naming the system that offers We cannot talk about justice while allowing racism to be normalized, excused, or hidden behind political diplomacy. No, only the taste of global concern. So today I see this Palestine geopolitical conflict. It is a moral crisis. It is a taste of our global. Now we are falling that test. For the Palestinian people have occupation, displacement, and the synthetic racial injustice. Entire families have been destroyed, entire generation have grown up known only fear and loss. We want every innocent life, Israeli and Palestinian, but we cannot ignore that this is not a war, equality. This is not a balance. This is cruelty and power against a stateless people. Thank you for your courageous. To our delegates, thank you for your commitment. To our Palestinian brothers and sisters, we see you, we hear you, we stand with you. To all who have suffered from racism, we will put your words into action. Conference be a turning point, not in words but in will. May it a space where truth is spoken broadly, as the built at the peace, not a privilege but a shared reality. Together that we move forward. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much, Dr. Shagufta Jabeen. Thank you all our guest speakers. Welcome to you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sayed. And yes, as the ambassadors of global humanity, as ambassadors of peace and justice, and standing against racism, we definitely stand against all the violence happening in Gaza, in lots of other areas of the globe. When we talk about the sustainable development goals which apply to the international peace, then yes, we really need to ask ourselves, why are we standing quiet? What is happening in Gaza is not something hidden. So we really need to talk about it. That definitely is one glaring, blatant example of racism happening in front of our eyes, and we cannot blame anybody else but ourselves for standing quiet at this point in the history. So I'm Dr. Shagufta Jabeen, CEO of Next Gen Impact Consulting and Chairperson of Sukh Saanjh Foundation, which is working actively about peace and justice and rural area development in Pakistan. So after Dr. Sayed's very warm welcome and very motivating words, I really now invite the next speaker. But before I invite the next speaker, there is small announcement, a sort of housekeeping, that is 5 minutes for each speaker, and let's respect each other's time. I would really appreciate if we stay to the time limit of 5 minutes so that everybody can participate and give their viewpoint. So with that, I would invite you, Ambassador Ibrahim.
Speech by Ambassador Ibrahim Suleiman Isa from Nigeria, a humanitarian global peace ambassador and human rights diplomat. At this international summit, my topic is Against Racism Under Peace and Justice. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished guest speakers, respected leaders, fellow peace builders, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace and blessing be open to you all. It is both honor and duty to stand before you today on this critical summit against racism under peace and justice. As humanitarian global peace ambassador and human rights diplomat, I speak not only from a podium, but from the very soul of a global conscience. crying for unity, dignity, and justice. Racism, whether subtitle or systemic, personal or political, is a deep wound in the body of humanity. The divided people deny rights, devalue lives, and destroy nation. It tells some that they are superior and other that they are not even superior, and other that they are not even equal. It is a lie, a dangerous lie that has cost general their hopes, their freedom, and in far too many cases, their lives. My call today is simple. We must rise together against racism, not just in a word, but in policy, in education, in institution, and most important, in our hearts. Under peace and justice, we cannot speak of peace while others are oppressing. We cannot speak of justice while systems protect, prevail, and punish different. We cannot truly human until we see every other person as equal human being. Let it be known here today, peace is not merely in the absence of war. It is in the presence of the fairness, equality, and mutual respect. Justice is not merely in the enforcement of law. It is enforcement of what's right, no matter who is involved. Let us reflect how many people are harmed because of their skin color. How many are profiled, harassment, or even killed because of their tribes, ethnicity, or faith? How many children grow up learn visible? Your life matters. Your dignity matters. Your voice matters. In conclusion, let this summit be more than gathering of speechless. Let us be turning point. Let us return our countries, our communities, our cycle with a renewed commitment to crush racism with our courage, to replace hatred, harmony, and to build a world where peace and justice are not privilege for the few, but the right of all. Together, we can raise a generation that sees humanity first, before race, before tribe, before classes. Let's guide us. Let justice guide us. Let peace lead us. And our shared humanity to us. Thank you. My peace and justice reign over every land, every people, and every heart. Thank you for today's speech. I appreciate you all. That is the end of my speech.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ibrahim. Of course, it's humanity that takes precedence over any kind of nationality, religion. So we all have to promote the brotherhood in humanity. Before inviting the next speaker, I wanted to quote statistics also. And in 2023, for example, in USA, 11,862 hate crime incidents were reported. Similarly, in 2024, 11,679 hate incidents were reported in USA alone. And in 2 years, 23 and 24, in UK, 140, 561 hate crimes were reported. So we can look at the gravity of situation. It's very sad. Now I invite the next speaker, Dr. Fatma Maleta from Tanzania, and her topic is importance of peace in new generation.
Hello. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm truly honored to be invited to speak at this conference. My topic is importance of peace in the new generation. Peace is very important currently. We've seen a lot of impacts of not having peace in the world. And particularly today, I'm going to speak about the issue on the Palestine issue. And we really need to have peace so that a lot of activities can go on. We have an issue where children are not going to school and food scarcity. There has been lack of humanitarian aid that has been going around, and sometimes it's because of logistical issues. People are having difficulties sending aid from country to country, and also there has been a lot of injustice and discrimination that has been happening. And when there is a lot of injustice and discrimination that is going on, people will automatically revolt. It would be in countries, it would go beyond countries. So it's not an issue about one country. It's a global issue. It's a global pandemic that is going on right now because a lot of people have been unjustly treated. There have been a lot of discrimination going on around the world, and thanks to we have a lot of international organization, individuals, and human rights activists that are taking actions. We have medical doctors going on, and people offering medical aid and humanitarian activities, but still it's not enough. I think we really need to actually do more for people of Palestine, and we need to reach out more for the children and provide the aid. And I personally don't support war in any country or injustice in any country. And I really hope there would be a free Palestine where they would have their own land to do social activities, they'll have agriculture activities, they'll have their own members of parliaments and states to represent them, their own military to defend them. And also, they would have their own right to freedom of speech in international organizations, international diplomatic organization, international boards at the UN. They would have their seats. It's not only about a matter of of promoting peace. It's a matter of building peace for the next generation to come. We are trying to build a world that is of unity and of diversity, where people are free of racism, free of injustice, free of discrimination. We're not trying to build a world where children can see bombs and wars, because at the end, what kind of generation is going to come? What kind of generation are we creating? Because these children have been traumatized. There have been a lot of mental issues, not to other people in both countries and also in other countries that have been experiencing war. War is not something that is something to be proud of or something to be happy about. It's something, I think, in the end, we need to ensure that diplomatic alliances are formed and these people can have their own right to their own land. Because imagine if it were you, or if it were me, it were someone else close by, and you are in your land and you don't have such kind of rights and you don't have such kind of access. Ultimately the reaction would be that way. But also the people of Israel also, they should have the right to stay. I'm not saying that they have the right to, because ultimately, if we look at it, they will not have any place to go right now. But also, I don't think it's actually good to take kindness for granted. If someone helps you, you have to, like, to at least be human and stop these wars and stop the ceasefire and let the children live. And also, I think people can actually learn to forgive each other, to live with each other, and because in the end, life is really very short, and what we are fighting for is we're going to leave this world. So ultimately, I don't support killing of any person, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in the global wild. Peace has to be the solution. Peace has to be the answer for our generations to see, to act, and to learn from that, to learn that the world is is a peaceful place and they can be happy and children can smile and be filled with smiles. And I hope ultimately countries would sit down, would negotiate, and all this would be some history that we are all learning from, we have to learn from. Thank you very much. I appreciate for your time listening.
Thank you very much, Fatma. And it's very important to understand the fact that this is global responsibility to understand that what kind of word are we leaving behind for the new generation and for the next generation. It's not only about one country in the world right now. There's so many countries involved in war, be it Yemen, be it Myanmar, be it Sudan, Somalia, Syria, Palestine, Cambodia. I mean, there's so many conflicts going on. And just taking one example, only taking example of, that between November 2023 to April 2024, 8,119 verified deaths took place in Gaza, and 44% of them were children. This is the next generation that we're talking about. 26 were women, and totaling nearly 70% of civilian casualties, and most of the deaths occurred in residences. They were not fighting with anybody. They were not doing war, waging war against anybody. These were civilians. And the next generation, the children and the women. Yes, we have to put an end to all this. We have to raise our voice. So coming to our next, yes, we have Dr. Emmanuel with us. Dr. Emmanuel, over to you, please.
First of all, I would like to say that the topic is about knowledgeism. We are one family. Looking into what is happening in the world today, we have discovered that due to the boundaries that are there, sometimes we feel like someone is not part of our family just because it's coming from a particular country, from a particular tribe. But looking at this is now bringing confusion, conflicts, and many other fightings amongst ourselves. I would like to urge the whole world that we are all one family. Because if we go back into creation, you find we were created from one family. That is, there was the first man and the first woman. The first man and the first woman has led to all of us. So we have to consider that we are all coming from one family. Today we can see the boundaries amongst the countries. We have seen tribes and many other things happening all over the world. But we should also keep in mind that we are, all of us, we are coming from one family. And then we have to love each other. We have to show passion to each other. We have to make sure that we are trying to bring in peace, because if there is no peace, that means there is no anything that we can be successful. If we want to be successful, we have to make sure that all of us, we are passionate over each other. We are passionate despite or regardless of the tribe, regardless of where we are coming from. Are you coming from Africa? Are you coming from Europe? Are you coming from America? Wherever you are coming from. But our beginning is one. Our beginning is one. So we are one family. So we encourage every one of us, make sure that we bring peace. We live in peace with everyone. We live in peace with everyone. We have seen fightings. There is fighting in DRC. There is fighting in Gaza. There is fighting in many other countries in the world. This is because maybe sometimes we think of what is this? Our denominations, religion, sometimes is trying to divide us. Religion is trying to divide us. Sometimes the tribes are trying to divide us. But regardless of the religion, regardless of our tribe, we are all one family. We are coming from one God. We are coming from one family. That is Adam and Eve. And even if you go to America, if you go to Asia, if you go to Africa and Europe, you find that everyone is agreeing that the first man was Adam, and there was the first woman, and that first woman was Eve. So we all agree that we are coming from one family. So we have to love each other. We have to make sure that we bring peace in the world. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Let us all join hands strongly and make our world a place to live. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, we are that one global family. What you just talked about, Dr. Emmanuel, reminds me of a saying by Imam Ali. He said that there are only two kind of people. They either brothers in faith or brothers in humanity. So let's celebrate our brotherhood in humanity. And we have amazing people from around the world to discourage different forms of racism. Our next speaker is Professor Dr. Mehreen Mia from South Africa.
Yes, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum to everybody, and I greet everyone in the universal greeting of peace with blessings. Thank you so much for having me on the platform. I'm really grateful to be here and honored as well. I did hear many of the speakers so far, and I think everyone is really out to get rid of racism, but also to attain peace, firstly with themselves, and of course, wherever we are in the world, that's what we're searching for. But I'm talking about global racism, and that's from a holistic point of view. And the number one thing for me in terms of tracking it down is to get education out there for it. And I'm not talking about just school based education. I'm talking about educate yourselves and your families about what racism is and why it's not good. Because I work a lot with children, I work a lot with adults. So I'm working holistically with every age group. And the one thing I do know, and I can say very safely as fact, not science, fact, is when you have children, little children of every race, amongst each other, they do not know race. Little children never know race. Little children don't know status. Little children don't know barriers that make humans different from each other. They just see each person as a human being. So I then ask myself, in the profession that I'm in, if the children don't see race, then where does racism start? It starts somewhere, and it starts at an adult mind that tries to inculcate that into a child. That's where every barrier in the world begins. And we then need to sit here and say, what do we do to change that? So I appeal to everybody globally. If we can just start in our little communities, in our schools, in our areas, in our religious spaces, start by being factual and real. It's one and good to have fantastic talks like we are having now, but we need to push it through to literally make it happen. Go to our youth out there and give them the directives of get your people together and erase the youth that have a mindset of why there's racism. Find out and then eradicate it. That's where we need to start. And then we as adults need to look at us seriously. What are we doing wrong that racism is still so rife? In South Africa, we are almost, for goodness sake, Madiba fought a struggle to get us to freedom, and yet we still have poverty. We still have unemployment. We actually have it worse than before. And today is the 9th of August. In South Africa, today is Women's Day. So happy Women's Day to everybody else in the world, to all our women and our sisters. But the reason I'm bringing that up is not just to actually give disrespect to our brothers. It is to mention it that it's today is Women's Day in our country purely because we actually salute 4 women who in the apartheid era took to walk and march to parliament themselves. 4 women, different races, all got together, walked to parliament to fight off apartheid to give women a say in our country. That was on the 9th of August in 1956. So every year on the 9th of August, we commemorate those 4 women who helped eradicate racism, apartheid, the barriers that were there. So I ask myself, today is Women's Day. We're celebrating it by all means. We celebrate who we are. But why then do we still have the barriers of racism now? When our mothers, so-called mothers, fought back then to eradicate it completely in my country. So the same applies across the world. Holistically, if we want to change it, it starts within our homes, it starts in our communities, and it starts with us being real about why it's even there in the first place. Then, secondly, when we talk empowerment, a lot of the time we go out and we empower our women, our children, our girl children. Do we ever take time to empower our brothers? We're getting our girls to get up there, which is absolutely fantastic, but our brothers' mindsets are still almost programmed to not allow for that to happen. So we need to empower brothers to know when we are empowering our sisters out there, it is not to compete with you, it is to collaborate with you. So these are my points that I'm wishing to get across because holistically, if we want global racism to be eradicated, it starts with education within our homes, not just in a school, but within ourselves as well. And of course, it goes on to how to empower us uniformly and holistically. And that is how I'm sure we'll be able to work together to get it done. Thank you so much. And I'm sure everybody's tired after so many different talks, but I'm hoping that what I said out there makes a little bit of sense. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Mehrinima. And now, Professor Ambassador Amaris Costa from Dominican Republic is going to join us. And the topic is the importance of the culture in the right peace.
Good morning, for all. I am I am the Doctor Professor Ambassador Poetry Amaury Acosta. I from Dominican Republic. I represent the important conference near the xenophoby and racism in Dominican Republic. Our country it has a dolorous old story of the colonization in the descubriment of the American for colon in coming here in America. Is the giving of all nationality is having a various of the delinquents and discrimination racism on the Indian. It died. How many much died in Indian for imposition of religion? The Dominican Republic has right of block law with basis nationality in ancestral lineage of black Indian in the black race and the white race of the colonization of the Spanish. The problem, the discrimination, is how many long story in my country. It's long story of the originally of the Island. It have part in two countries, Haiti and Dominican Republic. It two nations having various stories, various culture, various religion. It have part in one Island. Eh, the various culture is having problem in the hate into nation. It now having how many problem in the community international. All country having false accusation of the all discrimination of the deporting the hiring the human nation. Eh, it's very important speak on the true information on the of the xenophobia in the Dominican Republic. In one accusation is false. The Dominican Republic is very hospitable for the stranger. Is very hospitable for the helping.
We must understand that when we dehumanize others, we actually lose our own humanity. So instead of teaching our children hatred and racism, why not to teach them empathy and love? And yes, it's a global responsibility to really think about the kind of word and the atmosphere that we are leaving for the next generation. Do we want them to be fighting in an atmosphere of hatred and racism? You are leaving us with great thoughts. Our next speaker, Dan Manula from Denmark, is going to talk about youth against racism, building a global culture of peace.
Yes, thank you. I'm grateful for this invitation, but I told I need first. Now I'm exactly on meeting for the much people together and for the peace. It's a very beautiful meeting, and here I did only hello and about against racism. I not it's racism is complicated word. It's not only for the um, word. It's everything. It's important tolerance and peace together. Thank you for the distinguished guests and esteemed colleagues for all participants of this meeting. Thank you a lot for the invitation. I not can talking a lot. Good day, and see you in another time. Good things.
Our next speaker is Ms. Samdata Mitra from India, and she is going to explore different forms of racism.
Thank you so much. Greetings to one and all. I am Somdatta Mitra, a humanitarian by nature, a poetess by passion, a teacher by profession, and I believe that peace can heal everything. I thank Madam Saeed Hanifdeen for inviting me in this wonderful session. I thank Madam Shagufta for hosting the show so well and giving me the delight to present my piece, my speech on racism. Thank you, distinguished speakers, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this platform. My subject is racism and evil in the society. Racism came out in the age of European imperialism, the subsequent growth of capitalism, and the Atlantic slave trade, the latter being a major factor in the rise of racism. It was a major force in the racial segregation, especially in the United States in the 19th century and early 20th centuries, and South Africa under apartheid. Racism is discrimination based on physical characteristics. A belief that a certain group of humans possess traits such as physical appearance, which make them superior to the humans, superior to the rest in their eyes. The sense of superiority manifests in the form of discrimination, prejudice, or antagonism to those of different race and ethnicity. These views impact social actions, practices, or beliefs, or political systems in which different races are ranked inherently superior or inferior to each other. We have known that racial segregation and discrimination enforced in South Africa from 1948 to 1994 involved systematic oppression of the Black majority population by white minority enshrined in law and resulting in severe human rights abuses. There were forced segregation and residential and business areas. The Black South Africans were required to carry identification documents and restricted to their access to certain areas. They were denied the right to vote or participate in political processes. They were subjected to violence, imprisonment, displacement with little recourse to justice. Nelson Mandela, a prominent anti-apartheid activist, was imprisoned for 27 years for his role in struggle. Apartheid had a devastating impact on South Africa, leaving behind deep social, economic, and political inequalities. One of the most renowned and influential voices of our time, Maya Angelou, hailed as a global Renaissance woman, was a celebrated poet, memoirist, novelist, educator, dramatist, producer, actress, historian, filmmaker, and civil rights activist. experienced the brutality of racial discrimination, and in her collection of poems, she assembled 13 poems against racism. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I will rise, she said. The Atlantic slave trade promoted a racist ideology with the idea that Black African people were inferior to white Europeans. Plantation society saw a large Black population being ruled out over by a poor white minority. It was heavily prejudiced against Black people. In Jamaica, most white people were convinced that the only application of brute force could keep the numerous enslaved African people under control. The countries which have been under the wildfire captive of racism are Algeria, Botswana, Burundi, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ivory Coast, Libya, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Namibia, Rwanda, Somalia, South Africa, Sudan, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Japan, Lebanon, Malaysia, and many more. Historically, the discourse of racism and colorism in India has also woven into the discourse of caste-based discrimination in India, for instance. Movements against caste discriminations have often looked to movements against racial discrimination for shared experiences and inspiration. The Dalit feminist movement in the United States to better communicate their experiences of marginalization. In India, racism, casteism, and colorism often overlap. Given the role of Churchill and many revered British leaders' role in oppressing the people of South Asia, very specifically the people of Bengal of the time, it is good time to hark back to the past and remember the damage by colonial rulers to our people and the inherent racism their actions were laced with, be it the Aboriginal people of Australia, the tribal people of Mesopotamia, or the Mau Mau group of Kenya. They all have been persecuted by imperialist British rule. Atrocities in the Indian subcontinent are prominent examples of the viciousness of the British. Despite being a small enterprise comprising of 30 employees at best, the East India Company managed to invade an entire subcontinent within less than 50 years in the 16th century. Churchill's hatred for Indians was particularly acute, and it became evident when his adamancy caused death of 3 lakh people and thus generated the Bengal famine of 1943. On April 13, 1919, thousands of people gathered at the Jallianwala Bagh Garden in Amritsar, Punjab, to peacefully demonstrate against the much controversial Rowlatt Act. Under the command of acting Reginald Dyer, British troops were ordered to keep firing at the protesters until they ran out of ammunition. In those 10 minutes of incessant firing, over 379 protesters were killed and more than thousands were injured. At least 120 people died from jumping into a well on the compound. General Dyer, in his testimony, related, "I would have used machine guns to kill even more people if I could have. I did not see any reason to help the wounded," he added without any remorse. "I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word," said Martin Luther King Jr. Here I present a very, very short 4 or 5 lines of a song, which is much, much sung in Bengal, written by very famous poet Kazi Nazrul Islam. কারা রইল কপাট ভেঙে ফেল করলে লোপাট রক্ত জমাট শিকল পুজোর পাষাণ বেদি কারা রইল কপাট ভেঙে ফেল করলে লোপাট রক্ত জমাট শিকল পুজোর পাষাণ বেদি ওরে ও তরুণ ঈশান বাজা তোর প্রলয় বিষান ওরে ও তরুণ ঈশান বাজা তোর প্রলয় বিষান ধ্বংস নিশান উপচার প্রাচীর বেদি ওরে ও পাগলা ভোলা দে প্রলয় দোলা ওরে ও পাগলা ভোলা দে প্রলয় দোরা গারদ গুলো জোরসে হাঁকে হ্যাচড়া টানে মার হাক হায়দরি হাক কাঁদেনে দুন্দুবি ডাক মার হাক হায়দরি হাক কাঁদেনে দুন্দুবি ডাক ডাক রে ওরে ডাক মৃত্যুকে ডাক জীবন পানে. The themes of this song in the revolution for the freedom movement, it encouraged courage, breaking free from oppression and challenging unjust authority. It inspired people to stand up against injustice and fight for their rights. It is a call for liberation and self determination. I think above all that racism creates a society where people do not respect and trust each other. Racism is a threat to human security. Persistent stereotype, prejudice expressed in discriminatory actions by a majority group of people towards minority groups can denigrate into mutual distrust. It is time for appreciating our differences and respect our cultural diversity. We need peace to erase this evil out of our society and call for equality. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Samdita Mitra. And our next speaker is Sonia Zurita from Ecuador. She also is going to talk about different forms of racism.
Yeah. In this opportunity, I speak in Spanish. El racismo a persona por su raza, color de piel, origen étnico o su lengua, que le impide el goce de sus derechos humanos. Es originado por un sentimiento irracional de superioridad de una persona sobre otra. Es un fenómeno social que se manifiesta en actitudes y prácticas que justifican el trato desigual a los individuos o grupos basándose en su origen racial o étnico. El racismo es sostener la superioridad o inferioridad de un grupo frente a los demás, promoviendo mecanismos, sistemas y culturas de deshumanización, discriminación, persecución y exclusión. La palabra racismo designa también la doctrina antropológica de la ideología política basada en ese sentimiento, conforme a la Convención Internacional sobre la Eliminación de todas las formas y discriminación racial, aprobada por la Asamblea General de la Organización de las Naciones Unidas el 21 de diciembre de 1965. La doctrina de la superioridad basada en diferenciación racial es científicamente falsa, normalmente condenable, socialmente injusta y peligrosa, y nada en la teoría o en la práctica permite justificar en ninguna parte la discriminación racial. El primer artículo de la Convención Internacional sobre la Eliminación de todas las formas de discriminación racial define el racismo como toda distinción, exclusión, restricción y preferencia basada en los motivos raza, color, linaje o origen nacional o étnico que tenga por objeto, por el resultado o menoscabar el reconocimiento, goce o ejercicio en condiciones de igualdad de los derechos humanos y las libertades fundamentales en las esferas política, económica, social, cultural o en cualquier otra esfera de la vida pública. Para combatir el racismo, la Organización de Naciones Unidas adoptó en 1965 la Convención Internacional sobre la Eliminación de todas las formas de discriminación racial y estableció el 21 de marzo como el Día Internacional de la Eliminación de la Discriminación. Como seres humanos, creyentes de un Dios divino, es nuestra obligación cumplir con uno de los mandamientos que Dios nos dio, amar al prójimo como a ti mismo. Muchas gracias.
As we draw this session of the Great Global Peace and Justice Conference to a close, I want to thank every speaker and participant for contributing with their knowledge, courage, and heart. Today's dialogue has shown us that peace is not just the absence of conflict, it is rather the presence of justice, empathy, and equality. And these are not dreams, but duties. These are our personal duties that align with also the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, with the agenda of the Sustainable Development. And even otherwise, I believe this is the priority of each state, each nation in the world. So let's live here committed to building societies where diversity is celebrated, justice is upheld, and peace is lived every day. Let's carry today's spirit into every conversation, every decision, and every action that we take. Thank you very much. And my special thanks to Dr. Syed for arranging this wonderful conference, a much needed topic to be discussed. And I wish you guys all the best. Thank you again.